So welcome back to Cheers and Jeers. We watched Night of the Comet from 1984, and cult classic, and we're here to review it with you. This movie was nuts. We saw it when we were growing up back in the 80s. It was a great laugh at the time, and it was an even bigger laugh now. Starting from the very first scene in the introduction, you see a big comet coming towards Earth. And the comet literally made a rocket sound. Now, as we all know, there's no sound in space, but even if there were, I don't think a comet would sound like a rocket. So that gives you a clue as to where we're off for in this movie, as far as realism goes. And one of the first scenes, you see a bunch of people partying in what looks like Times Square. I wasn't quite sure if that was actually supposed to be in Times Square or if it was downtown Los Angeles where the whole rest of the movie is set. But one thing I missed there was it was a little bit nostalgic for the days before social distancing. You had everybody crowded together, hooting and hollering, no masks or anything like that. So definitely a vintage movie, not exactly these days, but we had a whole lot of stuff that you'd recognize in the 80s. We had the main character is introduced to working in a movie theater playing the Tempest video game, and it looked like it was straight out of the 80s with the line graphics and everything. And I remember playing that in video arcades when we were growing up. It's not very complicated. You just shoot and move left and right, and that's about the extent of it. But whole lot of fun with the movie. Kind of a zombie flick with a little bit of a twist. Now we've both seen a bunch of zombie movies before. There've been a million of them out, and this kind of fit the bill. But in this movie, the thing that turns them into zombies isn't contagious. You don't catch it from somebody else, and they're not entirely zombies either. Like, they talk.
Right.
Like one of the first scenes is the main character comes out of the movie theater, and then all of a sudden there's this crazy zombie character and chasing after her, and then he starts talking, and I'm like, well, this is weird. That's usually not how zombie movies work.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of a twist.
And they do get into a short battle. The lead actress there, when she's trying to get onto her bicycle, the zombie comes out, and they actually get into a physical fight, and they talk back and forth. So yeah, that rings true to what you just said there.
I couldn't believe her motorcycle was still there. That's where she parks her motorcycle. Like, even if there wasn't an apocalypse, the motorcycle's parked in the back of a dark alley. How did nobody run off with that yet?
Yeah, who knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think this was done around the time of Halley's Comet, and so, I mean, I think it got some attention that way, too.
Yeah. In fact, I think they mentioned that in the opening. Something about Halley's Comet returning. And
there is one comment about that, yes. Yep.
And they kind of insinuated that this other comet, well, the last time it was here was when the dinosaurs mysteriously vanished.
Yeah, so. They said, and they thought they would die then from the Halley's Comet, and then it's like a few seconds later, the comet comes through, and yeah, that's something else.
Mm-hmm. So one of the main characters, Regina, she works in this movie theater, and she spends a lot of her time playing the video games, and she's got
she's hooked on it. Yeah.
Yep, she's got all the top 10 slots, and I remember those back in the day. That was the thing with the video games. You get a top score, and you can put your initials in there, and she's got them all there. And then there's like
DMK is what it is.
Yep, there's like one person that got like halfway down the list somewhere, and she's annoyed. Didn't even knock her off the top spot. He's like at number really 7 or something.
She's like, who is this? That is really annoying. DMK.
And the boss is like, hey, Regina, I don't pay you to play video games. Go get back to work.
Walk the house.
and I'm thinking back when we were watching this as kids. I'm like, oh man, that boss is a jerk. And now I'm watching it as an adult, and I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, she's on the clock. Of course he's pissed. I mean, why would you?
Playing video games and you can't even get her to stop playing video games to go back to work. But Mel, they throw things at me. Milk duds, those things hurt.
So then, and then she goes and her boyfriend's running the projector. And then so she goes back up into the projection booth with him, and it turns out, and I never caught this when seeing it for the first time years ago, the guy's pirating the movies.
Yeah, on the phone right before that. Yeah.
He's taking
$100 isn't going to get it this time.
And he's taking the movie reels and giving them to someone else to copy, like under the table.
110? Yeah, that's more like it.
Mm-hmm. So then you see the other sister, the main characters, these two sisters, and that the brunette in the movie theater, and then her sister who spends the whole movie in a cheerleader outfit, and the blonde is quite cliche, another movie cliche. You were introduced to her, and she's fighting with her stepmom, and the stepmom's there, and the dad's off in the military, and she's sitting there fighting with the stepmom, and like she punches her. One of them punches the other. I can't remember.
Well, it was first it was a slap, and then the other one slapped her. Like, yeah, the parents slapped the kid, and then the kid slapped back, and then the adult hit the kid with a fist, and she fell to the TV, and she had a little bit of a bloody lip there.
Oh yeah, and then she like
she was like, I can't, you could tell the expression on her face. She was like, what?
Like, yeah, she hits the TV, and then the stupid announcer on the TV is like, this looks like a really friendly crowd.
Yeah, that's what I remember when he said that. Was just so appropriate for that.
But they, I mean, the whole premise is this comet has some sort of radiation or something that affects everybody, but it doesn't go through steel, and they go through this rather tedious exposition when they're up in the projection booth, and the guy's got to explain to the girl about how, oh well, this whole projection booth is made of steel, and Superman couldn't even see through it. And then they go into a whole bunch of Superman lore about, no, it's really lead that Superman can't see through. And they spend a whole lot of time talking about Superman for some reason. And
Superman could see through that like it's not even there.
and that whole Superman story somehow is supposed to explain, make us understand what's going on with the comet, I guess.
Oh, it actually does. It sort of makes a little sense in the movie at that point when you're trying to figure it out from watching it first time.
Mm-hmm. So then we're, it's the next morning, and we're exposed to a little bit of their incredibly sophisticated special effects from the early 80s, where they show the planet having been affected by this comet, and they take a red tinted lens and put it on the camera so the sky looks red instead of blue. And I don't know how much they spent on that lens, but
yeah, a red tint filter.
And they walk outside, and basically where all the people were, you've got people's clothes sitting there filled with this red powder. And you see, in my memory, I remember it being like really bright red. But I think I might be confusing that in my memory, because watching it again, it was kind of rusty, brownish orange color.
Yeah.
It wasn't as bright red as I remember.
Definitely. Fun fact about that, I found out that it was actually bricks that did a lot of that dust that you see everywhere in the movie. So they did that very inexpensively. That was I found that out recently.
Mm-hmm. So she spends the night with the boyfriend in the projection booth of the movie theater. And she gets up the next morning. He runs out. We never see him again. Probably got attacked by one of these zombie-like monsters. But so she's going out to try to find him, try to figure out what's going on and where is everybody. She walks out the front door, so she doesn't even notice these very obvious piles of clothes with dust coming out that look extremely suspicious. and then she's going back to find her motorcycle when one of the talking zombies attacks her. So that was a little bit strange.
That first zombie experience there, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, she defeats that guy. I mean, she hits him over the head with a lead pipe or something. I can't remember, but then she hops on her motorcycle and she goes driving off to try to, I guess, go home. And now this is Los Angeles, and I've driven in Los Angeles. There's not a more horrible city in the country to drive in. Traffic gridlocked everywhere. Well, there's not another car in sight. And so far this still doesn't seem to like bother her too much, or she doesn't seem to find it like really unusual. But the thing I didn't get, okay, let's assume this comet turned everybody to dust all of a sudden. Well, there would have been people driving when it happens. And on her entire drive all the way across town home, she like sees one car that was stalled waiting at a red light. I mean,
oh yeah, I never thought about that. Right.
And
there would be a lot of cars all lined up and with a lot of red dust.
Yeah. And I mean, if you think of other like apocalyptic movies, like think of Stephen King's The Stand or anything else, whenever they show a road or expressway or something, it's always filled with stalled cars. But no, this was like everybody just kind of like nice and orderly went home and parked their cars at home. But
well, another fun fact, I actually have the commentary video, so I found out that they actually filmed this on Christmas morning to get the entire city to where there was nobody there, so that's why all the streets were empty, like we were just saying. Found that through commentary, so that was an interesting fact.
I got the impression too it wasn't the most big budget movie in the world.
No.
And so it was probably easier for them to do that and just, well, let's just wait till Christmas and there's no one on the road, as opposed to let's buy 500 cars to use as props to park all over the road to make them look like they're abandoned. We can't afford all that. Well, let's just have there be no cars then.
Yeah, there's a really creative way to make that work when you think about it. Mm-hmm. All the actors had to work on Christmas morning, though.
Mm-hmm. So she finds her sister. Her sister doesn't know that everybody's gone, and so then she makes her go outside and look, and they're all upset. And they're like, well, what do we do now? What do we do now? Oh, what can you do? Go to the radio station!
Oh, right. Yeah.
And so they drive across town, and they find this radio station that looks like it is straight out of like a laser tag arena or something, or some sort of nightclub.
Oh, with all the neon and the it was something else.
It's dark in there. There's neon all over the place, and that's not what radio stations look like. Radio stations just look like an office with cubicles and desks and a few microphones. I mean, this was really, really weird looking.
It's like it was all for show.
It's like, this is somebody's workplace? But then they're sitting there, and then they're trying to find the DJ, because they heard the DJ on the air, but turns out it's just recording. And then somebody shows up. And this dude comes out of the shadows with a gun, and it's Hector, a.k.a. Commander Chakotay from Star Trek Voyager, which he ended up going and doing years later. And then after having seen him in that role, it looks like the same guy, and it's hard to see him in the different character.
Yeah, I think he was a truck driver, and. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But so then he's alarmed, and then they realize that they're all safe, and they start to get along, and then the girls fight over him. Like, who's gonna get to have him as a boyfriend?
The young Kelli was getting jealous of the other one. He's like, "You always take my boyfriends, and now you're taking the last guy on earth." Oh man.
Yep. But then they stay the night in the radio station, and lo and behold, he doesn't make a quick pass at the girl, and so then the girls are talking the next morning, and it's like, well, I wonder if he really likes girls. And
yeah,
being an '80s movie,
they had to.
They don't say gay. Being an '80s movie, they use the '80s vernacular and they drop the F-bomb, the other F-bomb, which we can't say or YouTube will take us right off the air.
Yeah, you'll see it in the movie.
Yep. But you don't see it so much in movies anymore, but you pull out Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, this movie, any number of others in the '80s. Their language preferences were a little different.
Yeah.
So be forewarned there. But what else did I have? Oh yeah, he the little kid zombie.
Oh right, towards the end there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Well, when he goes back to his mom's house,
Right.
like he's Hector doesn't know his parents are in San Diego and he wants to go check on them, and then so he drives back over there, and as he's sitting there looking through his mom's house and there's nobody there, he doesn't find anybody, but all of a sudden there's this knocking at the door. And he looks at the door, and it's just like this little kid, like a 6-year-old kid.
Yeah.
But he like got semi-infected by the comet, and so now he's kind of zombie-like. Except he's also got superpowers. Like this doesn't just kind of make you sick and a little bit insane, because Hector goes and he shuts the front door, and all of a sudden, this 6-year-old kid zombie just like jumps through the door, like the solid, like this solid wood door. All of a sudden, this little kid just like knocks it down and starts chasing him around, and then he like shuts another door, and then the kid like jumps through that one too, and it like all bursts into splinters. I'm like, wait, where's the superpowers come from in all this?
Yeah, that was interesting. Not the normal zombie.
Mm-hmm. But. And then they had to throw the jump scares in there too. The one of the other Hollywood cliches out there is the dream thing, like
where there, there's a scene and then they wake up and it's like, okay, that didn't happen. Yep. I think they did it 2 times in a row.
They did. They did the double whammy in this movie.
The double wake up.
Yep. The girl she falls asleep, and all of a sudden there's a couple of cop zombies chasing her, and right when they get up to her, all of a sudden there's like a jump scare, and then she wakes up and she was just napping, so you got me there. So then she gets up, and then she's going to she goes in the bathroom of the radio station, and for some reason she's like
washing up or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, there's just like a little sink there.
Yeah.
But she strips down to her underwear.
Yeah, starts undressing.
And we're like, this isn't a shower. What? Would you could just sit in the sink and.
It's an '80s movie, man. That stuff happens.
But that's when they come with the double whammy jump scare, and then all of a sudden, there's the cop zombie again, and you're like, you got me again.
Yeah.
Darn you, director.
Double jump scare, yep.
Mm-hmm. So then they're trying to figure out what to do, and I mean, what do you do if all of a sudden there's an apocalypse and they're the only people left? You might go to the grocery store, maybe get some food, and
it's stuff.
Yeah, or maybe the fact that there's like these crazed half zombie people running around. Maybe get out of the city. No, they go to the shopping mall. And the completely predictable happens. They run into a bunch more of them zombie things, and then have a big old shootout with them, because of course the zombies can not only talk, they can use guns too. So
yeah, quite the different zombies in this movie, not the normal.
And it is an 80s movie, so yes, you do have to have scenes inside of a shopping mall. Everything in the 80s life revolved around shopping malls.
Yes, there was actually this mall was 7 other movies, big movies that it was in, and one of the ones we're gonna do a movie later, which the Chopping Mall, is the identical mall in this movie.
They get a lot of mileage out of the same building, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So then they end up getting kidnapped by, there's like a group of rogue scientists that kind of saw the comet coming and were worried about it, and so they built this big underground lair, which looked like a multi-million-dollar project that would take years and years to finish. I mean, this looked like literally like the NORAD complex or something. I mean, it was just incredibly intricate, and so they get taken there and questioned and whatnot, and except it's just the girls. The boyfriend Hector, he's not there.
Right. For some reason, he wasn't there.
He was still down in San Diego trying to find his family.
Yeah, that's what was happening there. He found a little kid. Yeah.
And somehow he comes back, and then so he's gonna go in there to rescue them. So he's got this plan to sneak his way into this super secure base, and the plan is a cowboy hat. You see, if he just drove up there and tried to talk his way in a regular voice, they'd be onto him and they'd be like, dude, get out of here, we ain't falling for it. But he put on a cowboy hat and he faked a Texas accent. Yeah, and suddenly that completely bamboozled the security guard.
Yeah.
And I watched this, I'm like, how does faking a Texas accent somehow let him pull one over on this guard? And
it makes you wonder on that one.
But sure enough, that mastermind trick worked, and he managed to smash the guard over the head, and then he snuck his way in, and hey, who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, they run into a couple children in there that are kidnapped too, and so they rescue them in the process, and eventually they're trying to escape from the facility, and they blow up a few bad guys, and they blow up some of their equipment, and then they eventually get out, and it's happily ever after.
Yeah, once they escape out of there. I noticed something, and this is one of my favorite movies, but I noticed it is really action-packed and really draws you in the first half of the movie. And the second half, where they get captive and they're in that underground bunker and everything, it does get quite boring. It's a lot of dialogue, and that's just the way the movie's made, though, you know.
A lot of scenes of sitting around talking.
Yeah, towards the end, and when they're captive, yeah.
Where
there's some action, but the beginning is just, how can you beat that with everything that happens in the beginning, just one thing after another. That's what makes it so great, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they have this happily ever after moment at the end. Like all of a sudden, it starts raining, and the rain fixes everything. All of a sudden you see a little bit of the dust washing down a storm drain, and then a couple articles of clothing going with it, and the sky is blue again, and not red anymore, and so then they're all dressed up in their Sunday best on a street corner, and everybody's happy, and aren't there any of them zombie guys left?
Yeah, they're still out there too. Nothing really happened. So,
but they got this. They're taking a picture, and the two kids that they found, I guess they're adopting them because they're the only people left now, and they got the young boy there, and
all dressed up nice.
All dressed up nice, and then all of a sudden a couple things struck me. He's sitting there looking all handsome with a little football in his arms. I'm thinking, he's holding a football he's never going to get to use.
Right.
That's a team sport. There's no team. It's just you. What's the football going to be for? Not only that, but
Yeah.
he had braces. So, like, does he get to have braces for the whole rest of his life now?
Sounds like
Or-
it. Yeah.
or
They
they-
would all. That's funny.
Or do they got to,
Funny
like,
about it,
they got to
yeah.
go raid an orthodontist's office and try to, like, just themselves, like, well, that doesn't sound like fun.
Yeah.
I had braces as a kid and had them off by the professional, and it wasn't fun. I can't imagine trying to sit there and, like, rig it yourself.
I remember my favorite part about the end of the movie is where they're at the stoplight with the stoplights, and the main lead actress there is saying, "You can't go without the green light for the walkway and stuff." And then the other girl, I think it's Kelli Maroney, the other actress, and "Oh, what do you mean? There's nobody out here." "Well, we have to wait for the light to pass to walk across the street."
Yep. And then one car comes, like, blazing way out of
Right.
nowhere, and from, like, blocks away, and they all just stand there dumbfounded, like, literally like deer in the headlights. I mean, the car's like blocks away, and you got plenty of room to jump out of the way, and then they just stare at it, and he brakes in just the nick of time before hitting her.
Yeah, he ends up. That was the single jealous girl from earlier, and then the guy comes along and picks her up at the end there.
Yep.
So that was the happy ending. Both relationships worked out in the end.
But the other weird thing at the end, and I guess they're trying to paint a happily ever after, despite the fact that it ain't gonna be a happy future for them.
There's only a few people left on Earth.
No, and I mean the food in the grocery store is gonna go bad pretty quick. The canned
Wow.
food will last a little bit longer, but it's only like a year or two. They're gonna have to learn how to farm and stuff, and there's gonna be, I mean, the future isn't happily ever after. Their future's Mad Max. I mean, that's what that's what their future's gonna be like. But yet, in this very final scene, here's Hector. Oh, the sun is shining. It's a blue sky. Let's take all our guns and throw them in the trash.
That scene too.
It's like, why are you throwing your guns in the
zombies.
trash? It's gonna be a
Oh
Mad
my
Max
gosh.
world. You're gonna kind of want those things.
Yeah, he does. That doesn't make any sense at all, really.
No.
There's zombies all over the world chasing people. Whatever people are left, and you throw all your guns away. Boy. Now,
But it was a fun movie.
definitely a fun movie. A good
Campy.
night to watch towards an evening movie.
Campy, not very serious. A few laughs, some intentional, some you're kind of maybe laughing at some of the goofy special effects. But if we got to rate it from 1 to 10, I'd probably give it a solid 7.
7.
There's some better movies out there, but it's better than average.
Yeah, I would say a 9 just because it's close to my favorite movie. There's probably 2 favorite movies out there, and that's one of them. So
Awesome.
I had to give it a 9. Yeah.
Well, there you got our ratings. So leave in the comments what you thought about it. You give it a 1 to 10 rating. Maybe you got anything you remember from the movie we forgot to mention? Let us know, and we'll take a look. So until next time, keep cheering and jeering.